desk. Oh, this is more dramatic? Okay, what is
Who's playing for the win? Who's playing for the draw? I think neither. Who's playing for the win? Who's playing for the draw? I think neither of us know, right, Anish?
Are they both playing for the win now,
hang on a
Anish?
second, hang on a second. Something.
Look at the bar.
No, there's something just happened.
Magnus Carlsen, he's blundered into checkmate.
So bad.
Oh, and it's over.
Wesley, this is absurd. Oh my god, this is unbelievable. This is absurd.
I'm
Look at
speechless.
Wesley.
Okay, well, this is probably the craziest game we've seen so
Oh,
far. in this
whoa.
Who's playing for the win? Who's playing
Whoa.
for the draw? I think neither of us.
Whoa,
know,
what
right,
was
Anish?
that?
Are they both
What was that?
This is absurd.
I'm
Look at
speechless.
Wesley.
Okay, well, this is probably the craziest game we've seen so far in this game.
Who's playing for the win?
What was that? Okay. Okay, yeah. Anyway, you guys, I will say once again, this is why this is why I mean rapid chess and blitz chess is so great, because you actually see as brilliant as we are at this great game of chess, we also make blunders that we would never in a million years make in a slow game of chess. So I will say that's why for the people who like, you know, try to say classical chess is better, the entertainment value of rapid and blitz just cannot compare classical chess with the entertainment value you get from like rapid and blitz. It's just not comparable. We are so good. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you think, yeah, we're great chess players. Then you see King F8, and we're like, the world champion can make a blunder like King F8. What is wrong with us? So yeah, it's all relative, I guess. Thank you to Bumsbauer for the tier 1. Thank you to everybody for the love and support. You guys are amazing. Thank you to Floss for the 29.91 as well. Thank you so much. So everyone was like, oh, chess is not an esport. When you see these mistakes and you see these reactions, like, this is the other thing I would say, which is the big difference between online and over the board, is that over the board, you would never see us like slam a table or do these things, because like we're much more self-conscious like out there. Whereas online, you see us like being true to, you know, the nature of how competitive and how serious it is. So like, yeah, like you've seen Magnus do it. I mean, I've done things as well, like, and you would never see us do this at an actual board. So it's very funny. By the way, I see GMW So's in chat. I don't know if that's actually Wesley, but thank you for the entertainment. This has been a lot of fun so far. But it's insane. It's insane. Rapid should be the new standard. Blitz and Bullet should be regular events for all chess players, especially GMs. I've never seen someone in absolute awe. Sorry, what's that? I've never seen someone in absolute awe about GMs playing speed chess. It's simply awesome, spectacular. Thank you so much. Ali Reza slammed the board too. Yeah, no, I mean that's true, but you see that in Blitz. Like in classical chess, you don't see. There's just the entertainment value is so different. So yeah, crazy stuff. What happened? You just joined. Well, Magnus had a crazy game. He was losing out of the opening of the second game. After winning the first game, then the game got messy. It still was a draw. Then Wesley was in real danger of losing, and then Magnus walked into a checkmate in 5 moves and slammed his desk. Maybe he broke something. Maybe he did the classic Leffen and broke his mouse. But yeah, crazy stuff. So crazy stuff, but good. How did So win? Magnus blundered checkmate in 5. See, even the world champion can blunder a checkmate in 5. So crazy stuff, crazy stuff. Don't do Leffen like that. I mean, isn't that the Leffen though? Didn't Leffen like break a mouse, or am I crazy? Someone said that he did that.
Hello, I also
hey.
returned. The laughing. What did I miss?
Oh no, I was saying Leffen. So
Oh,
yeah. Anyway,
I thought it was because of the clip. It's also yesterday. That reminded me of the clip of you that we saw yesterday when you saved the first game against Wesley.
Mhm.
And you were laughing, and people, some of the viewers didn't understand, like, oh, that's disrespectful toward Wesley, but that's a laugh for relief, because you were in a lost position and you escaped the perpetual, like, and you don't even see each other. So I think the context is very important. That it's not like when you sit in front of each other at an over the board tournament. It's a call on which you are. Oh, I was muted on my own stream though. Hello everybody. I was muted on my own stream. Welcome back.
Yeah, I mean it's. I don't even know what to say. This whole thing is just crazy. But I think when you laugh, it's at the sheer absurdity. Like, can you imagine I mean Magnus or Kasparov or whoever, can you imagine like just how hilarious it is to blunder a checkmate in 5 or to like blunder a basic tactic? That would never happen in a slow game. So in many ways, like it's embracing the culture and saying that we can make these hilarious blunders like that we would never make normally. So it's great to see. The only thing I wish is I would have loved to have seen what Kasparov would do if that happened to him. I wish we had online chess when Gary was playing, because Kasparov's reaction I think would have been much more dramatic than that. It would have been 10 times worse. Yeah.
Any breaking of an item, what would have been the reaction, you think?
Well, I mean, we've all seen that clip of Gary when he blunders at the board against Vishy Anand. I assume you know the clip I'm referring to.
Yes.
So we've all seen that. I might show that on my stream before the next game, but can you imagine that? And like, if Kasparov blunders a mate in 5 like this, his eyes would be like literally bulging out of his head, like literally. And I think Gary might actually like fall off his chair. He might tilt really back and just fall off his chair. But I'm gonna show it to my stream since everyone's wondering.
Absolutely. If you
1
have the link, I will show it too.
Sure,
I don't
do.
know
Sure,
if it's easy to find it.
I'll send it to you. 1 second. Yeah, I've got it.
Thank you.
Okay. 1 second. Let me change.
It's just such an iconic video.
All right, let me stop the video. 1 second. Okay.
Just resubbed for 6 months. Hope you're having a good day, Hikaru.
And that's over the board. Not online chess.
That's actually not the best clip, I don't think. I think there's a better one. Is this the right one? Let me see. I've got another one. No, I can't find it, so let's get back to the chess. But yeah.
That reaction is priceless, though, and the fact that this is over the board, an over the board tournament, as it used to be traditional chess. But I think you have a great point there, Hikaru, that if it was online chess, if we could see Gary at his peak competing online, what would be the reaction? What kind of reaction it would be without knowing that the opponent is watching, because we don't see each other.
Very true. Yeah. No, I mean, I wish we had that opportunity, because Gary certainly was the most expressive player. But we do have the game underway here in this third game. So we've got the Rogozin opening. Wesley decides to change it up, and so he plays the Rogozin. This game doesn't go into the end game. So let's see. I think E3 is the right move. I've had this a couple of times in the past. E3, or you can maybe take on D5. I know Magnus is very creative, and he probably has some idea in mind here for the Rogozin. So I wonder what he's going to do. He might just be thinking here to just sort of clear his mind and relax a little bit.
Do you think that would be what he has to do here, to take it easy and he has to forget about that blunder checkmate that he has fallen into, he has stepped into?
Yeah, I mean, certainly he's got to do that, but I mean, I think like the main thing is to realize it's still 1-1. He's still very much in the match, and you know, if he plays good chess, good things will happen. But I think certainly it's very difficult to recover quickly from that. It's just like, it's not easy at all. But why is he thinking here? I'm kind of surprised. Maybe he's thinking that Wesley didn't take on c4 like he was supposed to. And so he's seeing if there's some difference in the position, like maybe bishop g5 instead of e3.
Oh. I'm gonna take a look at the move order too in the database if that's why. So he plays bishop to g5.
Right.
And h6 immediately by Wesley.
So bishop h4.
Yeah, you're right that castle kingside is not the most common move order. After b takes d3, I have about 150 games, and castle kingside was only in 38 of them, the move.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is all, I guess, pretty, I mean, it feels pretty standard so far, although, again, I suspect that the difference is that after, by not taking on c4 right away, maybe after takes bishop g5, Yes, you can't go bishop g5 because black goes queen d5 and b5 to hit your queen and support the extra pawn on c4. So by castling, Wesley's order was maybe imprecise because it allows Magnus to develop the bishop and not have to close the diagonal. So I think Wesley's definitely, I mean, it's not that it's bad, but it's definitely different than probably what I think normally occurs.
Interesting point, and that explains why Magnus invested more time in that moment. Now that the bishop is out, he will then go for the structure that Hikaru said, the development with e3, then stepping out with the bishop and castle kingside. And does this need to be addressed after bishop d7, that black can go for a discovered attack, or that's not dangerous at all? It's knight takes d4 move.
Yeah, so like if you play e3, of course, knight takes d4 fossilizes the queen on a4. You can't recapture knight without losing your queen. So Magnus either has to take with the pawn, and then knight d4 is not possible because the queen covers the d4 square. So that's one option, or he can maybe move the queen back and hope for like dc4 e4 and play for a quick attack with the pin of the bishop on the queen on d8, or the knight on f6, I should say.
Which one do you think he'll go for?
I mean, considering the match situation, the way that last game went, if Magnus determines that queen c2 is not a bad move, then I think he's going to play it to be very aggressive, and sure enough, he does play queen c2. I think he wants to be very aggressive here in attack.
Would that be your choice if you had played the game where you made a big mistake? Would that be your decision, or would you go for the chill, relaxed game, better to calm yourself down, and then the next game will decide?
You know, I think it depends on the opening and what exactly the position is. But I can say if I was in this situation after losing a game like this, I would definitely play queen c2, and I would try to be very aggressive here because the position, I mean, it lends itself to that.
Yeah. So queen c2, and then the follow-up attacking plan would be: do you push e3, or is there any chance sometimes you can? No, e4 wouldn't be a move just yet.
Yeah, but
so
I mean,
e3.
What does black do though? Is the first question, because when you look at the position, normally, like, let's just go back to the basics of this. So many people are wondering, why do you play check? I mean, yes, it's a check on the king. You hit the bishop, but black defends the bishop with the knight, and you've wasted a move bringing out the queen in the opening, so that's really bad. The reason that normally this occurs is because if you play normal moves, let's just say you play a move like e3, long-term black can always play pawn to c5 and then bring the knight out. So generally speaking, you don't really want to put the knight in front of the c pawn in these queen pawn openings, because normally this pawn wants to go forward and attack white's big center here. So that's why queen a4 is a logical move. So when we go to this current position, after queen c2, which is what Magnus played, black really can't attack this white center. So white is doing very well, and black has to decide immediately how to attack the center, which is why I guess Wesley plays knight a5. Now, I don't know if I love knight a5 here. I'm a little bit worried about maybe some g4 g5. That maybe that's too bold, but I feel like there should be some ideas for it here. Maybe e3 is also possible.
E3 or g4 g5. I would love to see g4 g5, but I feel like it's not what Magnus would normally go for. But also, normally he doesn't blunder checkmate in 5, and he must be really, really frustrated in this very moment.
Definitely. So I think he'll either take on d5 or play e3. I think g4 is just a little bit too bold here. Nepo would maybe play g4. Nepo might play g4 here.
It's a Nepo move. Instant g4.
Yeah. Nepo I think might play g4 here. 100% he might play g4.
I'm just being told, Hikaru, that you are the number 4 most watched stream in this very moment on Twitch, on the entire platform, in any language. So congratulations, and let's make it the top 3 too.
Thank you. Wow.
Can we?
You know, I mean, the numbers are great, but honestly, to me, the thing that really makes it amazing is just how many people love watching chess. And when people say like it's not an esport, I think definitely you can say that the action, the intense games and the drama that's going on every round, sort of it proves that. And the fact that so many people are watching, I think we're in a very special period for the game of chess. So really, to me, more than like that, like just having the viewers, it's the fact that the concept of the tournaments are so exciting for all the people to watch.
I couldn't agree more. And chess as an esport has a huge future, with TSM Hikaru competing in the Champions Tour. Those of you who are wondering, when is the next one? I believe it's right after Christmas, your next event, Hikaru, for the Champions Tour.
Correct. December 27th, I believe, is the next event, yeah.
And before that, you will be competing in the Speed Chess Championship. I think
Correct.
you can meet Wesley in the Speed Chess Championship too.
Oh,
And then,
oh,
It's on
oh!
the board. He played it. He played it. He wants to be Nepomniachtchi for today.
Oh, oh, wow. Wow. I mean, I thought it was too bold, and then Magnus just plays it. Wow. Okay, the fact
But
that Magnus
he
played
really wants to
G4,
win.
yeah, it
He
tells me that
really-
he's really upset about the previous game. Oh, wow. I mean, the funny thing is the engine gets deeper, it actually kind of likes. Wow, as the engine gets deeper, it says it's zeros, which means this might be winning for white.
Winning.
I mean,
Wow.
if the computer is saying this is zeros on mine at depth 26, I think white's winning here. I'm just gonna say that I think maybe winning's too strong, but I think it's very, very dangerous.
Nakamura.
So what's coming up? What's the point of G4? Break down all the key points of this pawn push and what's gonna happen.
The idea is to push G5 and open up the king side. So I'm gonna give chat an example. This is a completely different opening, but I'm gonna talk about pawn structures very quickly. So you probably, unless you open my stream, you probably can't follow this. But I'm gonna give you guys an example from which opening? I'm gonna give you guys an example from the Italian. Okay, so let's say you get a position like this, just classical. Everything's developed here. And once again, you have the same structure where you have pawns on h6, g7, f7, h6. And one of the really big dangers in this position is that black can go g5, g4, and rip open the white king side here with a rook g8 and attack towards the white king because of the structure of the three pawns. So when you go back to the actual game here, it's a different structure, different position, but it's still the same concept of where one side is castled and the other side hasn't. So you can thrust the pawns forward and attack right away. Okay.
G5 as a response?
Okay, I'm very worried. I think bishop g3 and h4. I think Wesley might just get blown off the board in this game now. I think this is way too bold. I think bishop g3 and h4 is very, very dangerous now. Yeah,
Wow.
this looks really dangerous. Computer says it's winning for white. I mean, this is too much.
Because h4 is coming later, so that pawn on g5 cannot go backwards ever again. Part of the rules of chess, very simple and basic stuff, but you need to consider the consequences of pawn pushes even more because of that. So h4, the pawn on g5 will be a hook for our pawn break, and that opens up the h5, and the king on g8 will be in trouble. Why would he go g5? Did he get?
I think Wesley might be feeling emboldened after that win. And feeling a second lease on life and just feeling like Magnus has done something bad, I have to be aggressive and try to punish him. But the problem is I think Wesley maybe actually thought that Magnus would sack the knight, which he doesn't have to do. He just goes bishop g3, now h4, and this looks... I mean, the computers say it's winning for white, and I feel like for humans, especially a position like this, where one side is just going all in and attacking, it's going to be very hard for Wesley to play.
I'm so surprised. First of all, Magnus going for the g4 move. As you said, Nepomniachtchi would go for it instantly. Magnus, normally not exactly his style of play, but he's really upset for what happened in the previous game. He's furious and he wants to bounce back instantly. G5 by Wesley. What a day.
So I'm gonna give you guys some base. People are asking a couple of questions. So the reason Wesley played knight a5, you guys, is because he wants to push this pawn and attack the white center. Like, just, if you look at this position here, one of the important things in the game of chess is who is the center here. And white has a very compact center. Everything is guarded nicely. And the way that you play against a big center is you have to attack the pawns and break the center open here. And black can't really do that. You can't push this one because white is guarding twice and you're only guarding once. So the way that you really want to open it up here and attack the center is to play this pawn push and put pressure down the c file. Thank you to Levy for the 20 gifted subs. Thank you to
That's how
Gotham
Levy
Chess.
says hi. Also gifting 20 on my channel. Thank you so much, Levy. And obviously, Levy will be back tomorrow for the final day. It's gonna be Hikaru and Levy hosting tomorrow's finals. It's gonna be on Magnus Carlsen's birthday, and we shall see whether he will like the present or not.
True. Wow. So as I was saying, you guys, the thing is, black wants to attack with c5 and rook c8. So that's why Wesley played knight a5. He's trying to attack the center here with his knight and his pawn. but also to go rook c8, c5 and attack immediately down this whole line and try to play against the big white center. So that's why Wesley played knight to a5 and then g4, g5, bishop g3, knight e4. Not knight takes pawn, you guys, because then white goes h4 anyway, and you have to deal with big threats on the h file. Your king protection is getting demolished here, and it's definitely losing. So now I think just h4 anyway, just all in, I think, is very good here.
I still can't believe that this is the kind of position that we have on move 12 between Magnus and Wesley. Totally not the usual style of these two players, but the tournament situation, the match situation, how the previous game went. Also this inaccuracy, because as you said, after b takes c3, castle king side is not the most accurate move order.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I'm thinking about this game. Here's what's funny. If this wasn't Magnus playing, I think, like, I'll give you an example. Let's say G4 was played in a game between let's just say Jan was white and Anish was black, just to use an example.
Yeah.
So if this was on Jan versus Anish, I can tell you what people would be saying. They'd be saying like G4, it's a bad move. Anish would be saying like, okay, this is terrible, this is not correct chess, it's a bad move. But because Magnus plays it, the perspective of what people would think is much different too. So like, because Magnus plays it, you have to take it more seriously versus somebody else.
Mm-hmm. And we are taking it very seriously that the world champion is going for it. He is upset. He's hungry for a comeback. He now has the choice whether to push h4 or play something other than the immediate h4. But h4 seems to be the most straightforward, the most forcing. Anything else you would consider here for white, Hikaru?
I mean, I think white can play e3, but it feels very slow because you're just going to give black time to bring the rook into the board, rook into the game, like rook c8, c5, and then pressure down the c file towards the white queen. So I think the fact that Magnus already committed with g4, now he just has to go all in with h4.
h4, what happens after the trade? Knight takes, f takes. I guess that's not really scary.
I mean,
for
I
white.
guess black can take on h4 and then rook h4, king g7. I mean, it looks very dangerous though, because you have no protection around your king. Like, your knight is off on the rim. It's like just chilling out to lunch on a5, not doing anything. Your pieces aren't really that developed, so I'd be very scared here. But I assume Magnus is going to play h4, because I don't see any other moves that really make sense. Like, maybe you can go c5, but it doesn't look right. I think h4 has got to be the right move.
Magnus is spending some time on this decision.
Maybe it's knight e5, actually. I wonder about knight e5. Maybe that's a move here. But it still doesn't really... It doesn't fit with the theme. Once you play g4 here, it doesn't really... I don't really see positional concepts to sort of develop and castle your king. I think you just have to go for it.
h4. Will he go for it? Another prediction time, guys. We have tried this before. It was pretty much working. Will Magnus Carlsen go for h4? I guess I should have asked about g4 too, but I was too late. I was too late to the party. Will Magnus go for h4 all in, or will he go for something else?
I don't see any other moves logically besides h4, so I think he has to play it.
What is it that he would be focusing on, even if he decides to go h4? What lines do you think he's calculating mainly? Because he's spending quite a lot of time.
I mean, probably is concerned about this knight c4 line. That's the only thing that I can see him being concerned about, like actually worried that he could be in trouble. Everything else looks very pleasant for white, so I assume that's what he's calculating in terms of h4 here. I'm still surprised he hasn't played it though, because he's burning a lot of time on the clock.
Yeah, that's the thing, that the time control, a reminder again, it's a 15-minute game, and he used more than half of his time already. The increment is only 10 seconds, and now he pushes h4.
Right, yeah, I mean, he has to. Like, it's just, he's already compromised his structure here, so he just has to go all in, you know, and just attack immediately. Yeah, this is very dangerous. Very dangerous.
What's next for Wesley? What would be your approach if you had to play this with the
I mean,
pieces?
Wesley, first of all, he should use a minute. He should definitely use some time here, because this is really critical here. He's definitely under attack, and he's got to be very precise. This is not a position where you can just play moves on field. You have to try to be as precise as you can and calculate correctly. So you should definitely use 2 minutes. I would say 1 to 2 minutes on this move. No quick moves here for sure. But I think this is very dangerous. I'm concerned for Wesley here. I love how
Definitely looking scary.
I love, Anna, how every so often there are people who pop in there like, WTF, Wesley won the second game. Yeah, I mean, that's how we all feel.
99, just
The
subscribe.
funny thing
Oh.
is, if he had won after having that winning position and finds then the bishop d3 idea with queen
Mhm.
takes d6, no one would have been that surprised because he did have a winning advantage. What's
Mhm.
crazy is that he blew it. Magnus escaped. Then Magnus started
Take
playing
the
for a
odds,
win to
subscribe.
such
Right.
an extent that he
Yeah,
then steps into
Nakamura,
checkmate in
qualifier.
5.
Yeah, no, it's crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Yeah, so I mean, I expect Wesley to think for a while here. But this final has been amazing so far. The drama is incredible. So apparently, Chad is saying that Setsa says F5 here is the best move. Again, I think for a human, that's an almost impossible move to play because you're further opening your king side. So in this position, what you really don't want to do is you don't want your king here to be completely naked, where there are no pawns or any pieces around it. So like, let's just say black takes and takes on h4, for example. Your king there's no protection around the king. It's just completely on its own here. So you playing f5, which further exposes your king, and just like you're basically pushing everything in front of your king, which is the only piece that matters in the game of chess. It doesn't feel human at all. Maybe a computer can play it, but I don't think a human can.
And if he does not find f5, every other move seems to be worse than that line. What would be here the practical choice for a human being? Taking on g3?
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
that the main candidate move to take? And then what you said, he could take on king g7?
I think the way that I would say for a human, there are a couple moves that make sense. I think knight g3 makes some sense. Knight c4 also makes sense. But I think it's sort of stylistically here, you have two approaches in the game. You have the approach where you can try to be very precise, calculate everything, and try to play like knight g3, gh4, and king g7, or you can be like Nepo and just play knight takes c4 and be like, okay, if you have an attack, you have a checkmate, so be it, but prove it. And just like play these natural moves, take the material, and try to say, I can hold the fort down.
Mhm.
So I think those are the two approaches here. I think Wesley is probably going to take the first approach, where he tries to be methodical, practical, and find the best moves, instead of the approach of just like, I don't care about your attack. If you have it, good for you, but show me the money. So I don't really see that happening from Wesley, especially based on the time usage. But those are the two approaches he has here.
If he does end up taking on c4, what would that position be? Like knight takes c4, h takes?
And
What's
then
the
I think
follow-up?
E3 to put
E3.
pressure on your center, and develop the bishop.
Mm-hmm. So then the knight would be hanging, but I guess no. What I was gonna say, that if you go back with the knight c to d6 to guard the e4 knight. So the knight from e4, after that trade on g5, the knight on e4 can never step away because it's checkmate on h7. The open h file is a crucial one here, but knight c d6 to guard the e4 knight.
Yeah, and then I think white just goes c4, c5 and attacks the knight. That's actually the problem with this. Crazy
So white can
game,
tear the
crazy game.
defense. Yeah, tear the defense apart. Very unpleasant position for Wesley. So who's still thinking after h4?
This is the sort of position that I think in a classical game, there are chances for black to be precise here and maybe hold the position. But in a rapid game, in a blitz game, as time gets low, the moves are just not intuitive. Like, white has one plan. I'm going to attack, and I'm going to make a checkmate. So there are very few options for white to consider, whereas black has a lot more things to consider, especially since his king is under attack. So in blitz and rapid, sometimes the objective evaluation doesn't matter as much, because if you're attacking, you just play your moves. You have one plan, you tunnel on that plan, and you go for it. Whereas your opponent has to worry about all these different moves and these different attacks.
He takes on g3. He goes for the approach you first mentioned to
Yeah.
take on h4, then king g7, and try to hold everything together with precise defense and calculation.
Yeah, so this is, I think this is the approach where he tries to say, okay, you can take, I'll go king g7, and where's your big attacks? If g5, I go rook h8, and I'm kind of holding on, or I hope I'm holding on. Although actually, knight e5 now, like, oi oi oi, oi oi oi. This looks, yeah, this is, I don't know.
Do you have an oyo emote, Hikaru, that we can use in this very moment? Or what emote would you recommend for this situation?
I mean, this is just dangerous. I don't know. I mean, I'm really scared for Wesley here. Like Rook H4, King G7. Also, there's another problem I realized here. Now Magnus can also revert and play positional. Like he can play like takes on D5 and go E3, King F2, Bishop D3, and Rook H1 and just play for positional pressure. So I think there are a lot now. There are actually more options for Magnus than there were before. But again,
He's
Black.
still thinking.
I wonder if Magnus is thinking about G5 here or something. I wonder if he's thinking about G5.
Oh, to not take back but push G5 instantly. He ends up capturing
Yeah.
on H4.
I mean,
which is
apparently
the most
G5 allows an insane move F5 or something, which is bizarre.
What?
But
G5, F5. Okay, yeah, sure. What a game. He ends up playing the more natural Rook takes H4 and King G7 is on the board. G5
yeah,
now and then Rook
I mean,
H8.
I thought didn't I say oi 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 because of 95 a second ago? Like, isn't 95 just crushing here?
Looks like a really strong move. Knight E5.
Because if Queen G5, you have Rook G4 to pick up the Queen on G5. If Black takes with the pawn, you take the Rook. If Queen takes, you lose your juicer on D7. If you take with the King, your King and Queen get forked. And what else do you have? You can't capture. The Knight is super dangerous. H6 is now under attack. I think 95 is just crushing here. I'd be shocked if Magnus doesn't play 95. It's just like it's screaming to be played in this position.
Such a natural move to improve the knight, put pressure on the D7 bishop. Is there anything that he could be worried about? Black's pieces are so passive, and all of the pieces, mainly on the back rank, and this knight on A5, out of the game. That knight would need to be on the king's side to guard the king.
Yeah, someone says 95, there's Queen E7. I mean, maybe this is okay, but I don't know. Yeah, of course he plays 95. I mean, it's just screaming to be played, so I'm not surprised. Very, very sharp game.
Beg people to subscribe. Magnus and Wesley will take a juice for this game. Mark my
Yeah.
words.
Yeah, but this is just very, very, very hard to play. Apparently, Queen E7 is the only move, because if you play Knight C4, I just take on H6, you guys. And if Rook H6 I take, you can't recapture, because then your King and Queen get forked. And if you capture the Knight, then my Queen just goes to H7. So, very, very, very messy.
It's such a different pace of a game in comparison to the previous one, where it was theory until move 16, and they had lots of time even in the semi-endgame stage. Now this is move 17, and both players are under 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, this is... Wesley has to find Queen E7. It's the only move here. I mean, they're basically playing... Oh, he blunders. Now G takes H6, I guess, and this is gonna get really bad, although he has King F8, I guess. Very hard to play, though. GH6, King F8. And apparently the computer says Queen C1 is winning because you play positional now. And 95D... Yeah, except 95D5, you get this huge bind on the dark squares, and Black is so passive. Now, whether Magnus can find Queen C1, I don't know. I mean, it's a very, very hard move to play. Knight C4 feels more natural, although there is maybe some Queen G5 in betweener to hit the pawn and win the rook, potentially.
Oh, so that's why he has to start with Queen C1, because if immediate Knight takes C4, Queen G5, not taking the piece back, that's crazy.
Right, but it's insane because, like, once you see the move Queen C1, like, you're like, oh, it's such an obvious move. You stop Queen G5, you control the dark squares. But then as humans, like, seeing the concept is so difficult. Like, it's just, it's incredible. And then once you see it, now that I see Queen C1, it's like, well, I mean, it's such an obvious move because it just controls all the squares and I can trade into an endgame. But it's not even that Queen C1 is a hard move to see. It's the concept of understanding how it just guards everything. It looks so random. Yeah, exactly. See, like, it's not a human move.
And he takes on C4. That is the human move. He takes on C4. Will Wesley take this chance and play Queen G5? It's on the board.
Although there's 95 back maybe, and you can give you can get two pieces. Yeah, still very complex.
Hikaru, a question about the regulations, because this the online sports era is still quite a new one for chess. Can you tell us about what were the security measures that all the players have to do in terms of what was your setup?
Right, so I can tell. Well, I think I'm allowed to tell you exactly what it is. So basically, the way they did it is they did. Now, wait 1 second. Will Wesley find Rook G8?
No,
Rook G8.
sorry, I thought we had a moment to chat, but no, we don't have any time. I'm gonna ask you after the game.
Rook G8. Will Wesley find Rook G8? This is a big question. Will he find Rook G8? This is a very important. No, he doesn't. Okay,
He doesn't find it.
so yeah, now after like Queen E4 or Queen C1, I think White's doing very, very well here. Oh, actually, no, sorry, Queen C1 is very obvious because now you guard the pawn. If Queen E4,
Yes,
Black can play Rook H6.
true. Very true. Queen C1. A crazy difficult position. Both players are well, mainly Wesley. Mainly for Wesley, it's difficult to find the most accurate moves. Queen C1 is on the board by Magnus.
Yeah. So right. So you're asking about security measures. So I'll just tell you guys all the security measures for various events. So for these events, what they were doing is we were doing our webcams, like just a traditional webcam in Microsoft Teams. That was just the cams of the players, and then in Zoom we were doing the arbiters would contact us when the next game would start, when we'd begin, and everything, and we would do a screen share with Zoom. So screen share and communication were on Zoom. The webcams were on Microsoft Teams, and then separately we also had to have a recording device for recording the footage as well. So
you
like
have
for
also
example,
a camera behind you.
yeah. So like for example, like I would have this.
Ah,
oh, sorry,
I
here it is.
see.
Yeah, so I would
Yeah.
have I would have a webcam basically like behind me, like right back there.
Yeah, you have the answer, everyone. This is a very frequent question. I think Hikaru knows it more than anyone how the actual setup is, because it has been a really frequent question on how is it possible to make sure that there's fair play and no cheating involved.
So that's what they had, and also I don't think everyone could do this, but they were saying we needed to upload the footage as well. So you have to upload the footage to a server. Now most people I don't think could do it because the footage was like 30 gigs or something insane. So most people,
You
yeah,
send over the SD card in an envelope at this.
right. So like I think they were using AWS for the uploading. So that's what they were doing.
Mhm. Yeah, and the bathroom breaks were the other question. But let's just say what's going on in this position first before I get you more distracted. King E7, so Wesley allows the queen trade. What is this endgame like?
This endgame looks very pleasant for white due to the past H pawn, which is very strong. The black king is a little bit uneasy, and black also has double pawns, and white's going to get this big center. So I mean, it's funny how this started out so aggressive, so tactical, and now it's turning into like a positional endgame again. But I think Wesley's in bad shape here. Computer says 1.6, so it's probably quite bad. It also feels hard to play for black as well.
Rook B8 to guard the B7 pawn, but there's such a sad move to play a passive rook on B8 to.
I think
protect the
Wesley's
B7 pawn.
missing something here. So what Wesley's going for is counterplay. He wants B5, A5, B4 to open up the B file for his rook.
So he does have an active plan behind this. That makes sense to push rook B6, bishop here.
So yeah, I mean, you guys, I mean, I've said this before. Sorry, someone just made a dono. The problem with this b5 is that white can go rook h5, rook c5. Now I don't like the fact that Magnus did this right away because he's showing his intention. So Wesley doesn't have to blunder with b5. He can play like b6 maybe. Although I guess theoretically you're not actually going to go rook c5. You're just preventing b5 right away. And black doesn't have any way to take advantage of the move. So I actually it makes some sense to do it right away because I thought what Magnus would do is he'd play rook h1. Wesley goes b5, and Magnus is like, haha, oops, you blundered, and goes rook h5, rook c5 in one go. But maybe rook h5 is completely fine right away, too. So now, of course, rook h1 after king g6.
And f5 to cut at least that fifth rank that was going to be used
Yeah,
for swinging the rook over.
something's losing here. Yeah, something's going to collapse because the bishop is coming. Something's going to collapse here. I think Wesley's losing now. it feels like everything's collapsing. You can even take on f5 and go e4, e5 to get like this huge passed pawn in this big center.
It would make perfect sense to do that.
Yeah, king g3, king f4 also makes sense because the pawn takes you bishop e4. Goes g5.
G5, which is such a surprising decision to allow everything to stay closed.
Why would you play c5 immediately? I don't understand. Or g5 immediately. Because it's so committal, because now if black can trade the bishops, your rooks are terrible.
Yeah, the rook gets stuck on h5. It used to be such a strong piece, and after g5...
Was
I
g5 a
cannot
mouse
believe-
slip? Could g5 have been a mouse slip or
Maybe.
not?
I think that could be the case, because it doesn't make sense to close everything down when that's exactly the opposite of what you want. A misclick. It could have been a mouse slip.
It's just such a
let's-
weird move because now black's king is completely safe here.
Yes, the tables are turning, at least in the sense that it's not winning anymore for white. The endgame is now just about equal.
Whoa, but now white can take... Whoa, but now white's king is
Why
coming to
does he
f4. Wait a second. What's going on here?
He didn't have to. Both of them are making inaccurate moves.
No, but I mean,
now.
what is he doing now? King f4.
Oh,
Somehow, like, Wesley is now justifying it. I mean, Wesley's trying to go rook d5, rook a5, or rook b5, rook b3, but it's just way too slow. White can go rook h3, rook e3, and win the game.
yeah, that is the issue. The e6 pawn is the main target. Rook to h3, rook e3,
Yeah, of
and it's
course.
happening.
Yeah, and so you
Oh.
guys see, this is what this again. I cannot stress this enough. This is why rapid chess and blitz chess are so amazing, because we're seeing. I mean, how great we all are, but also how incredibly terrible we are as well. We're seeing like blunders left and right.
You're saying terrible, but it's just us. I'm gonna call myself as much of a noob as most of the chess community. We are sitting here with our engines, being very smart. So I think if we didn't have the engines to see what's going on in the game, it would still be like, wow, this is a brilliant plan. But the engines always undermine some of these ideas, unfortunately.
I mean, the engines really do prove how bad we are at chess. I mean, I'm not just saying that, but they really do prove how terrible we are, because the amount of moves that we play that are just like laughable to a computer is pretty amusing.
So now it's winning again. If we have a moment here before Wesley makes a move, can you explain what happened in that very quick trade of moves? So g5 could have been a mouse slip, and then what is it that Wesley did wrong? He should not take on f3.
I thought when he takes on f3, maybe there's well, actually, you know what it is? This is why when you watch computers play, it's so bizarre, because you know what it is? He can go c5, and if white goes e3, then you go b5. And what's the difference, Anna?
The difference.
What's the difference between this and the game?
Oh, the game was a disaster because he thought that he had time for the rook maneuver.
Right. But what can white not do here that white could do in the other position?
Let me see. I'm getting a master class by Hikaru, guys. I need to focus. So takes c5. You're
So
saying
c5, e3, b5.
b5. What is that? Like, white cannot bring the rook to the e5 and attack the e6 pawn. Have I passed the test?
Exactly. That's the
Yes.
whole difference. So like now the pawn on e6 is not a weakness because white can't attack it except to bring the king in. So when we look at the game, what happens is that after rook h3, white gets the rook to e3. So for example, let me just play moves like b6 and e3. You guys will notice that valuation is nothing. So because this pawn is on e2 and not e3, and white has access with the rook to e3, that's why it's winning for white. It's one little nuance of this pawn being on a different square and this rook being able to come to e3. Like this is why chess is also amazing, because it's like you think about it, what a difference is one square that this pawn is on. There's this rook h3, rook e3 idea. If this pawn is on e3, black is completely fine, but because white has access to the e3 square and hasn't put this pawn or moved it one square, that's the difference between it being okay and it being completely lost. It's
What
insane.
an important detail. The e3 square, whether it's available or unavailable for the rook, to target the e6 backward pawn, which is the only way to get into black's position here. Everything else is too close after g5. Was it a mouse slip? Do you think it was a mouse slip, g5?
I actually don't think it was, weirdly. But I don't know. I mean, it's such a bad positional move that I don't know. I mean, either it's bad or it's great because, I mean, maybe Magnus thought he had time to bring the king to f4 and go e4. So it could be in between. I don't know. But so then getting back to this point, this is why when you see computers play and you see it say like move one rook to one square, or move one pawn, or don't move this piece, then you begin to think like, what is chess really? Because it's like in this game, this pawn being on this e2 square, not e3, is why it's winning and drawing. And you start to feel like, what are you actually? Is this over? Is it over?
Yes,
it's over.
I think
He
it's
resigned,
official.
yeah.
Wesley has resigned after rook d1.
Right.
Because rook d6 is coming as well. Or rook. Rook d6 is the main threat of white. Wesley resigned, and that's a point lead again for Magnus with 1 game to go. Wesley in a must-win situation in the final game of today.
Yep. So just to get to my point once again, this is why when you see these when you see these moves, like whether it's like you move a pawn or you move one rook to one square or another square, and then you see computers saying you kind of begin to wonder what is chess or what is life even, because it's like this pawn being on e2 e3, it's like, what difference does it really make? And it's like the ideas that can come out of this pawn in this game being on e2 instead of e3 are just like, I mean, you really it starts to mess with your mind sometimes when computers suggest moves, because you really try to think deeply about why is one square or one thing, why does this one little square make a difference in the whole game?
Huge learning lesson here in the endgame. Can we go through again some of the critical moments, if you would tell the story of this game in some of the most critical moments?
Right, so the first critical moment was after b takes c3, when Wesley did not take the pawn on c4. If he had taken, Magnus never could have brought this bishop on the diagonal, g5 and e4, because black was queen d5, and if bishop f6, there's b5, and g takes f6. I mean, maybe he still could have played it, but I know it's not precise. And so when Wesley castled, Magnus took full advantage and brought the bishop out. Now if dc4, you can just play e3 or e4 and just recapture the pawn for free. So he goes h6, and then bishop d7, queen c2, and this was probably the really critical moment. I thought here Wesley, when he played knight a5, he sort of not misevaluated, but he misunderstood the mood that Magnus was in after that game, and so he tried to he thought that Magnus was just a little bit on tilt and playing a dubious order. He plays knight a5, and then g4 was an all-star move by Magnus, just to attack, go for the kill immediately towards the black king on g8 with like rook g1 and open it up. And I think every move was kind of critical.
G5 as a reaction. What a surprising decision. But Wesley, as you said, maybe he thought this is his lucky day. He has just won a crazy game.
Well, you know what else I realized? You know what else Wesley probably thought? He thought Magnus is on tilt. He's playing something bad. I'm going to punish him. And so that's why I think he also did g5 as well. He thought Magnus on tilt. He's trying to attack on the king side. It's too aggressive, and I can punish him. But in fact, despite Magnus, I think, being a little bit tilty, the moves are still fundamentally solid that he's playing. I mean, I can speak from personal experiences. Happened to me too in openings where Magnus tries to provoke me. Sorry, I'll update the score, you guys. 1 second. Or wait, sorry, 1 second.
Sure, take your time.
Go back. Yeah. So like Magnus, he'll try to provoke you, and you think like he's actually making bad moves, like he's just not playing correctly, and so he in a sense provokes you into going into something that you think is just can't be good for him when it's actually completely reasonable. So very very amazing. I mean, what happened in this game? Bishop g3, knight e4. All this was still pretty normal. I think Wesley played knight c4, which I thought was probably a mistake. Queen e7 was better. Again, it's a rapid game, so even if we want to be critical, I don't think you can be critical. You can't really be critical about his choices because it is rapid and you don't have a lot of time. So that was the second moment. Then after Magnus misses queen c1 move, which is not human at all. I don't think anybody would have really found this move under the time constraints. This was a critical moment. He played knight c4, queen g5, excellent move by Wesley, but unfortunately, it seemed like after dc4, queen c1, Wesley was certainly in the game, but he was struggling. And then, I mean, I guess the last one was when Magnus played this very strange g5 move, because it's very committal, and I thought there were probably other ways to play it, like e4 or king g3, or even just takes and bring the king up. And then Wesley, after bishop f3, trading and not playing c5 here. This was the last moment. Just going rook d8, it's too slow because Magnus correctly sees king f4, logical move, rook d5, and then this unbelievable rook h3, rook e3 idea to put pressure on the pawns. And black doesn't have time to do anything on the queen side. And with these two connected passed pawns, this rook is kind of stuck on h7 forever, so it was just losing.
Such a beautiful idea, this rook lift over to e3. And what you said, how this tiny detail that the pawn hasn't moved, it's still on e2,
Right.
and that's the only reason why it works.
Right, because after c5, e3, you can just do the same kind of thing, like b5 or even rook d8, king f4, rook d5. And again, there's no access to put pressure on the pawn on e6. So his pawn on e6 is completely safe. It wasn't human. How did I find it? Because we actually have engines open, you guys. That's why. But I would...
Hikaru would have found it, though.
Well, I don't... You know, I think...
Really the endgame idea.
Some of these ideas become very obvious once you see them, but at the board, I'm not sure that, you know, even if I had Wesley's position, I had 20 minutes on the clock, I'm not sure that I would have seen this idea right off. It would take quite a bit of time to see the idea of rook h3 to e3. But when both players have like 3 minutes, it's, I mean, it's just too much. It's too hard. It's too hard to find.
And as you said, the time situation was crucial too, of course.
Right. And also, like, that's what's crazy is when you see these ideas, the computer shows it to you, it's like, it becomes so obvious, like, well, I mean, duh, it's so obvious, how do you not see this at all? Like, I mean, it's so obvious after the fact that if the pawn is on e3, there's no rook e3, but again, to see these things as humans, I mean, we're just not good enough at chess, so that's life. I mean, we're good, but I mean, we're good, but
if that's how it makes you feel, imagine the rest of us. Imagine the rest of our mere human beings.
True, but it's crazy. It really is how that one pawn difference, the pawn being on e3 or e2, that's the difference in the game because of this rook idea to attack the pawn on e6. It's the only reason it's losing, so it's nuts. But we keep going. So it's I believe 2-1 Magnus. Final game. Wesley is white again. And we'll see what happens.
So what is it that Wesley has to do in a must-win situation? What opening choice, for instance, as the
what
first step?
opening choice? I think if I'm Wesley, I would play the Spanish and play into the Berlin with bishop takes c6 and just try to attack. Kind of like what I did against Magnus in the tour final. I think that's his best choice. I don't like the idea of playing. Actually, I'll show you guys on the board so you see. Or wait, I can open board 4 actually. So let me close this one. I would probably play the Spanish if I'm Wesley. The reasoning being that if Magnus plays knight f6, I would not play this rook e1 line like Jan did in his must-win game against Magnus. I would probably play bishop takes c6, and play d3, knight d2, queen e2, and try to get some kind of h3, g4, or castles, king h1, rook g1 ideas like Wesley played against me in our Speed Chess Championship final last year. So that's probably what I would... That would be my advice to Wesley in this final game.
I was really surprised, but both Lev and I actually were very surprised when Nakamura she went for that rook e1 line of the Berlin in a must-win situation, because it doesn't feel like the choice for a must-win situation.
No, I agree. I don't think it's the right choice. So if I'm Wesley, I probably would still play e4, but I would go into one of the Spanish lines. That's what I think makes the most sense. Or Wesley can play... that's probably my recommendation, or he can probably try to play something very slow within d4, maybe try to play the Catalan defense in honor of the separatists, with like knight f3, d5, and g3. That's another option as well, just to fianchetto the bishop and castle the king out of the center. So those are probably the two options that make the most sense. Either play something like what I said, or play something very slow with a bishop on the diagonal in d4 openings.
Then let's make another prediction time, because it could, as you say, it could either be e4 and the Spanish perhaps, or d4 and Catalan. That would be your recommendation. I would like to know, both at the GMHikaru channel and on my channel, what do we think? E4 or d4? What is your prediction for this? What is decisive moment? This is the last game. Very important to understand how the match consists of 2 days. But for today, this is the final day. And if Wesley doesn't win, he loses today's set. It's not the match overall just yet, but today's the first day and he's about to lose the first set. A draw and the loss is the same result for him, so he should go for something sharp. He has to go all in. E4 or d4?
Yeah, I think he's going to play e4. That's my guess, but we'll see. All right, I'm going to take one last short break.
Sure.
And then, I'll be right back.
take your time, Hikaru. I'm gonna take over in the meantime and see what you guys are saying, whether it's E4 or D4. If Hikaru says E4, I'm gonna take the other camp. I'm gonna be the D4 person. But some of you say C4 instead, or Bone Cloud, E4 and King E2. Can you imagine? Maybe not the best choice against Magnus in a must-win situation. E4 and King E2. I'm gonna have to ask. I'm gonna have to ask Hikaru about that if he thinks that's recommendable for this final crucial game. So remember, the match is not over today, but the first set will be over after this last rapid game. Tomorrow, Gotham Chess and Hikaru will be back to cover the last day, and tomorrow it's Magnus Carlsen's birthday. We shall see what kind of a present he gets from Wesley. Will it be a nice one? Will Magnus be happy about it? He won the World Chess Championship on his birthday, so far it has been a good couple of years for Magnus, winning the World Championship, defending his title on his birthday. Most birthdays he has been celebrating. We shall see what is it like tomorrow. But for now, this is the final game, Wesley, in a must-win situation. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in at the GMHikaru channel, making it so huge that it's among the top channels right now. As of now, it's still among the most watched live streams on the platform overall on Twitch. Thank you so much for making it that popular, that much attention, that much support. Because I see you spamming, I see those emotes. Thank you so much for being so guys. Thank you for being so positive. And also, obviously, I need to thank everybody here on my channel too. This is the secondary dance floor here at the NHS channel. And Hikaru has put so much pressure on me that I need to hit 100,000 followers within a month. I think we're at 72,000, and I don't know how we're gonna make it in a month, but we'll try. We will try.
All right, what happened? I see E4, E4-1, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you took
54%,
E4
yeah.
camp, so I'm representing D4. You said
Captain
E4, I'm gonna
Hikaru
say
just
D4 just to
subscribed.
have both. But the 54%, it was a close one. It was a close one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but Wesley's not watching, I guess. So he won't
I
hear
don't
what we're
think so.
suggesting. No, but
I
he
don't think so.
no, but he was watching the previous game because his account was here, but he's not here now. So in between the second and third game, yeah, second and third game, I definitely saw him in the VIP list, but I don't see him here now. So
But wouldn't
yeah.
it be someone from his family though?
Oh, it could be, yeah, but it was in between the games, so I actually think it was
Yeah.
probably him.
Oh, okay, in between games, of course they can do it, but
Mhm.
other than that, during the game, the only browser you can have, and it's screen shared. It's screen shared, and now you know it's also recorded from behind.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Correct.
the one that's
Yes.
for the game.
Yeah.
Some of the viewers were suggesting the Bone Cloud for this final game. What do you think, Hikaru?
No, I mean this is the final. There's a lot at stake, so there's no way that we're gonna see a Bond Cloud.
Such a pity. Such a pity. We would love to see
Mhm.
someone else also just taking the path as you did in the final game against Jeffrey Zhang.
Yeah, I mean, that situation I could do it because there was nothing really on the line. I couldn't move up in the standings. I also couldn't fall in the standings, so it made sense to do it at that time. But in this situation, we won't see anything quite like that. I think really the choices in like must-win games are generally you have to think: do you want to play something super slow where the game just keeps dragging on forever? The position might be boring, but the game drags on forever. Do you want to try to play something more aggressive where you're kind of looking for more attacking chances? Those are really the two approaches, and you have to pick
Mhm.
one or the other kind of.
I'm also being told that today already you have gained 1,000 followers for my channel too. Just adding another 1,000
We're-
and getting me closer to the milestone. Thank you, Hikaru.
I mean, you have what 30 days, just 1K a day to get to 100.
So easy, so easy.
Mhm.
Goodness me, thank you everybody for the support. This is absolutely unbelievable for me. I've never thought that my channel could grow this fast because I literally started streaming full time at the end of March, and my average viewership at the start would be about 200 viewers. I don't know what happened since. All I know is that everything has blown up. Thank you so much for supporting my channel too. It's insane, absolutely insane. 73.4 is where we are right now on my channel. 73,404 followers.
Awesome, fantastic. Sorry, someone said my teeth were yellow. They were saying I'm smoking, so I just felt like cleaning them a little bit. Anyway.
I also always have a travel toothbrush in my bag because when you do commentary and you're constantly on camera, it's so important that even if you have like a 1 minute snack break, you brush your teeth, whether it's like in the studio with water or anything you have. Like oftentimes I wouldn't even have toothpaste because I don't have time to go to the bathroom, and it was just like just brushing your teeth with water.
Yeah.
I know how it feels.
But just so the chat wonders, it's because I'm drinking an energy drink. That's why. That's why. All right. So I think we're gonna be starting what, like 5 minutes maybe.
I guess we have just a few minutes, and that gives us enough time to rate some of the opening choices that Gotham Chess suggests. Because I have also seen the Vampire, the Jalalabad amongst some of the suggestions. How do you rate some of those openings that Levy has been teaching his viewers?
I think the Jalalabad is a terrible opening. I think the Vampire is kind of interesting. Oh, look, Wesley played E4.
E4. Okay,
Yes.
you guys won. E4 camp has won.
So the question is, will Wesley play the Italian or the Spanish? Now, the reason that I don't like Wesley trying to play the Spanish here, or play the Italian, is, so Magnus switches. Interesting.
All right, no
Okay.
E5 for today.
So I'm going to tell you what this is all about. I think Magnus here is trying to make a point. And he's trying to make a point and say that it doesn't matter what the score is. I'm just going to make a statement and try to beat you in this final game. So that's why I think Magnus is playing this opening, because it's very sharp and very aggressive. So we'll see if it works out or not. But it reminds me of when I played Magnus in the very first event, the Magnus Carlsen Invitational, and we were playing the final match of that, or not the final match, sorry, the first match that we played on the first day, and in the final game, I think I was behind 2-1, and he tried to play the Sicilian against me. I think I actually beat him in that game, if I remember correctly,
That's
to
what
force
I remember
Armageddon.
too.
So
Exactly.
I think that's what he's doing. He's trying to say, you know what, I'm good. I'm just gonna beat you and make a point.
So he's playing the Sveshnikov, the opening that he prepared, especially for the 2018 World Chess Championship match against Fabiano Caruana, and trying to make a statement that can backfire, as it backfired against you. So it's a riskier decision than the Berlin.
Yeah, definitely. And this, I mean, Fabiano has beaten this horse to death a million times. He's played this opening. Normally, Fabiano plays c4. This queen f3 move, I'm not familiar with it, actually. I think it might be a new move. And Magnus is thinking here, which tells me that certainly he's unfamiliar with it as well, or he hasn't really looked at this move. I guess the idea is maybe to go queen c3 or queen g3, and maybe try to go knight c7. It's a very interesting move. But I don't really understand what the purpose is if black just goes bishop e7, because on queen c3 there's knight a6 to stop the fork with the knight. And your knight can always just come to c5 later, although maybe then white can go bishop e3, quick castle, f4, and a lot of pressure potentially.
Taking a look at the database, and as you said, queen f3 is not very common. There are about 4,000 games for the position with knight b8, and queen f3 only happened in about 200, but among the 200, there's no one above the rating 2600.
Okay, so yeah, it's a very obscure line. I'm guessing it's something Wesley must have looked at before this match, or maybe even just during this downtime, trying to make it work. So this is going to be interesting. But everyone's saying that white doesn't score well, so Wesley must have some idea specifically behind this idea, behind playing this.
I wonder what is it, but it certainly is making Magnus think, and that's at least a good start, that he is not stepping into one of the most analyzed lines of Team Magnus. By the way, that was another question by the viewers, because we always talked about the seconds, the teams of each player. Can you describe to the viewers what is the usual work for Super Grandmasters with a second or team? What's the dynamics, and how many people do you normally work with?
I mean, I've generally worked with one or two people at most. I feel like it's one of those things where you don't want to have too many cooks or too many chefs in the kitchen, or cooks in the kitchen. I forget the saying exactly. But basically, you don't want to have too many people helping, because then everyone has their own thoughts, and there isn't really a straightforward direction. I mean, I think it's much like business, for example, where, like, you have teams. If you have too many people and you don't have direction or you don't have leadership, then generally things can get off track, and the whole vision becomes different. So I think most people have one or two trainers, generally speaking, who help them out. Wesley's situation, actually, I don't know Wesley's situation that well. He's one of those people where I think he's had trainers or helpers, but it's never really been public or known, because none of them have ever traveled with him to tournaments, or you just generally see him with his family. So I'm not sure what his regimen is. I know Magnus has Peter Heine Nielsen as longtime second. He has, I think, Laurent Fressinet, who's helped him out from time to time. So Magnus has generally had a few more people helping him throughout various events. But most people have like one or two. Even Fabiano mainly works with Rustam Kasimjanov. So you have one or two trainers normally.
Yeah, one or two as main trainer, and then for the World Championship match, for instance, they had a bigger team that worked together for months and months.
Right.
And you have had a long time second, Chris. Shout out to Chris for the amazing work. Can you tell us about how you started working with him? Because all I know is that he's an amazing analyst for you, but I don't know the start of your collaboration.
Yeah, so the start of our class. Whoa, okay. First of all, wow. A6,
Yeah, we need
Queen
to go back to the
A3.
game because things are happening A6.
This is going to be very wild, by the way, because I think he wants to go bishop d2, bishop b4, and try to win the pawn on d6. So this is going to be very interesting. But anyway, yeah. So basically, I think it was around 2005 or something. I was actually homeschooled at the time, and I think I needed some help with what was it like? Was it algebra or trig or something? I needed some help with it, and so I was actually talking to him because we had a mutual friend, and so we were talking math, and somehow, from talking about math, I actually just asked him about some opening ideas, and we ended up working together for this tournament that I played in 2005 in the disputed region of Nagorno-Karabakh, where there's I think it's still ongoing, maybe it's ended, but the war between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And so he helped me out doing preparation for that tournament, and we worked on and off after that. Probably the biggest success I had was in 2008 when I won the Cap d'Agde Rapid and Blitz in France. And then in 2009 was really when it became full-time and serious. And he actually drove from Dallas, Texas to St. Louis, Missouri for the U.S. Championship. He basically put his desktop, his computer in his car and drove to St. Louis. And we basically did a lot of work in person there. And then from there, I mean, I guess the rest is kind of history. In July, I played the tournament in San Sebastian. It was a round robin, and he traveled there. And more or less, we've been working together since then.
What a story! I didn't know it goes back all the way.
Oh, it goes way back,
to when you were homeschooled.
Yeah, it goes very far back. But yeah, I've just been working with him. Now, the funny thing is, at the time, his rating was very low. It was actually like only 1800, I think, in 2005.
Really?
Now his rating is like 23-ish, I think, although he doesn't really play because, of course, everything he studies is for me. And so, like, for him to study and then play, he would probably want to use what he's looking at versus random openings. So obviously, you can't just play random openings or else you're going to do badly. So that's why he doesn't really play much. We'll get to the game in a second, you guys, don't worry. But I think there's going to be a lot of thinking for a bit. But
you basically improved his strength too, because if he was 1800 and now he's about 23.
True.
So 500 rating points just because of working with you. All the knowledge.
Well, it's like I would say, like that's also the other thing to keep in mind in regards to people who are training or helping you. It's like I think whether this is chess, whether it's business, whatever it is, like it's very important to know what people's strengths are. So there are a lot of people in the chess world who I would say are more knowledgeable than I am, especially on opening theory. I don't think that's really in doubt. But what is the difference between them and me in terms of why I'm a better chess player than they are? And I would say that the biggest reason is some combination of the intuition playing at the board combined with the memory recall ability. And so if you think about someone who's trying to help you, they don't necessarily have to be a great chess player and putting it all together at the board. If they're very good at doing research, that's great. That can be their strength because then I'm the one at the board who has to play well. But if they have those tools to get me to that point, then that's what matters. It doesn't really matter if they can play the game. If they forget their preparation on move 10, that's that. That's why they're not, a grand master or a super grand master. But it's about what their talent is or what their skill is. If that makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense, and I think you explained what others were asking about too, because Chris is not as high rated as Peter Heine, so you're not working with another grandmaster. Most of the top players have a team of grandmasters working with them, but in this case, Chris is amazing at research and analysis, and he doesn't need to be a grandmaster, a competitive level grandmaster, when he has those skills, the exact skills you need, his research skills.
Right, so that's kind of thing. It's a skill set, and also the other reason I would say that applies less and less nowadays is because computers have evened out the playing field. If you go back to the old days before computers were really strong, you needed advice from someone who could understand things who could sort of understand and guide you along. Whereas now computers can always give you the ultimate evaluation or what is going on. So that has also changed things a lot as well.
Great point about the engine. Yes, if it was in the era of the Queen's Gambit, Beth Harmon analyzing without an engine wouldn't be the same.
Correct,
be the
exactly.
same.
All right, so let's get back to the game. So what's happening?
What's
So Queen
happening
F3.
after Bishop G5? So we see that's a free juicer, but it's not exactly free, right?
I'm
Hikaru?
guessing Magnus is wondering if he can go Queen D7 because, of course, as the saying goes, you never want to play F6 because it closes your diagonal down. Although I don't know how I feel about this position. It's very strange. I don't know if F6 really is bad for black or good. Because I don't think in these structures you're ever going Bishop G5. But maybe like, for example, if you play some normal line like Bishop E3, Bishop B7, Knight C3, Bishop B7 castles, you can go Bishop G5 at some moment to trade off the bishops. Not right here because it's bad, but in general to try and trade the bishop so it can't target the pawn on B6. Whereas when you provoke F6, maybe it's the same thing, but black can never go Bishop G5. He'll have to waste a move with F5. So it could be a very deep concept.
Mm-hmm. If not F6, what are some of the other options?
Okay.
Queen takes G5 runs into the Knight C7.
He played Bishop E7. He's trying to play a professional bomb cloud approach. So if Bishop E7, King E7, just bring the king into the center of the game and try to attack right away.
Well, we were asking for a bomb cloud for Wesley, but it's Magnus who goes for it. The delayed bomb cloud is on the board.
Uh-huh.
I am impressed. I didn't expect this. I thought it was going to be a Berlin and trying to go for the draw, but no, I think you were spot on.
I suspect this is very, very bad, by the way, but I'm not sure that Wesley will be able to punish it.
He has to, though. This is his chance. This is his one shot. He doesn't get another one today. This is his one last attempt, one last chance, and he has to win.
Well, I mean, like I said, that's why I said Magnus playing this opening, he's trying to make a statement. He feels very confident that he's just the better player, and if he wants to make the statement that I don't care if you need to win this game, I'm just gonna play aggressively regardless, and I'm just gonna beat you. Which I think is why Magnus is playing this way. Normally, in a game where he just needs to draw, he never would play like this. But I think he's still pretty upset about that second game, and he's out to prove a point.
I really wonder what this game will bring to us. So far, all I know is it's high entertainment with the king on e7. This is exactly what we wanted. I don't know if that's what Magnus wanted. Do you think he would be regretting somewhat his decision for this final game?
Yeah, I'm sure he's not happy after this Queen F3 move, because I assume that Queen F3 caught him off guard. He just was expecting classic like C4 or A4 setups like Fabiano and many other people have employed recently. But he had to have had some idea that it could be very dangerous, because Wesley has played this Knight D5 variation in recent years. But definitely after Queen F3, the fact that he got surprised so early, that's why I think he's definitely not happy with this.
Queen F3. Do you think Wesley expected the Sicilian, or is just he prepared it for another game, another opponent? How much of this do you think he thought was going to happen today? Because E5 was more likely by Magnus, wasn't it more likely?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably he just looked at this opening and it was general preparation he did for if he played Magnus or he played somebody else. I mean, that's why, you know, I think it was Levy yesterday was asking me about the Berlin opening, like, why is Magnus playing that? Or, you know, why do people play the Berlin? And the main reason is because fundamentally it's a very solid opening, and your opponent has to kind of try to prove something, and it's been proven that the opening is objectively sound. Whereas when you start playing these very aggressive lines, your opponent could have done preparation for you, for another opponent, or just in general, and you run the risk of walking into something very, very unpleasant.
That's very unpleasant in this case. Castle, queenside, bishop b7, knight c3, knight d7, f4. So very obvious. White wants to tear open the position because the black king is in the middle of the board. We need access to it.
Right,
Looks
exactly.
Terrifying. It looks terrible. Can he escape? Can Magnus do it again?
I think bishop d3 and rook e1 looks very human, very natural, and very dangerous.
Natural developing moves to bring the last two pieces into the game as well. He takes on e5 first.
I don't know if I like that, because now I think black can get the knight to e5, this great outpost, and sort of plug all the holes with f6 and just maybe sidestep the king and just manually castle. I don't know, this feels a little bit premature. It feels premature. I'm skeptical.
Is this a nervous move? Why do you think Wesley would take on e5?
I mean, I guess he figures he can just swing the queen over and just develop the bishop and the rook. But this knight is so strong. Like, if black plays f6 and gets this bind on the center, the king is actually very safe on e7. You can't attack it. I don't know. It doesn't feel in the spirit, but maybe he was worried that after bishop d3, Magnus could just grab the pawn. I don't know. It doesn't seem quite right because this knight is just a jumbo knight on e5 here.
Yes, such a strong piece. It, as you said, it holds everything together. That's the glue here in this position. That's the glue. I'm puzzled by the decision to take on e5 because it certainly feels like it's only in black's favor to actually go for this trade and get the knight to e5. Because if he doesn't take after queen c7, if he had done what you said, bishop d3, do you think he was worried about the capture? Oh, I didn't see that.
What a move by
h5?
Magnus. Yeah. That's apparently the best move, I think, by the computer. That's just an incredible move. I'm gonna predict that Magnus is gonna win this game. I don't think he's gonna get in real danger here. I think he's gonna win this game. Because
that's why h5 is so strong.
Well, I think
why
h5
you
is
think he
great
wins.
because what it does is it kind of restricts white from ever attacking on the king's side. So it's actually very, very thematic. White can never really attack, and you're just going to go like rook c8 and like queen c5 and b5, b4. h5. Okay, interesting. Oh, Magnus is a different concept. Okay, so his concept is he wants to go king g8 and rook h6 to hold the juicer, and the rook is like holding everything from h6. And then he'll just be free to play rook c8, p5, and queen c5. He's going to go rook h6. That's how he's going to develop it. So he's going to like manually move the king around to g8, play rook h6 to hold it, and then rook c8. And if he ever needs to, bring the rook in via g6.
How creative is to go for that setup. The rook on h6 holding everything together with the e5 knight. That's a key piece in this position.
And also, you know what else it makes sense? Because now with the king on g8, white can never play g4 and attack easily. So this is actually really instructive. And Magnus is a great knight. His queen is well placed. I know that objectively the computers say white is much better, but I don't like this at all for Wesley. I really don't like this.
It started well. It felt like queen f3 was a really good decision, and Magnus was getting himself into trouble with that delayed bomb cloud. As much as we love the bomb cloud, it wasn't the most bulletproof choice for this game. But yeah, such a strange decision. I was just wondering in that moment of when he took on e5, do you think he was any worried about he takes f4, or why would he take?
Yeah, I think he was. I mean, but he could have developed the bishop because if black takes right away, you go check and then queen b4, and you get the same position, but the king's on f8, and your bishop and your rook are in the game already.
Yeah.
So it is puzzling. Yeah, it's quite puzzling. Okay, so rook f5 is a good move. Tries to hit the pawn on h5. I still feel like, I mean, there still are some issues for black, but I feel like Magnus he's right on the edge of being completely fine. Computers probably say white, I mean, they say white is better here, but it's move by move. If white finds all the best moves, white is better, but white's going to have to be precise on every single move to prove there's an advantage here.
And one of the Angie moves that's being suggested is a4. Like we are more focused on the f5, getting the rook to f5, attack the h5 pawn, double rooks, and the computer says, why not a4? Just making a move on the other side of the board.
Yeah, okay, I don't know if I like h4, because now your king side's going to get open, although I guess you have queen d8 to kind of hold both pawns, maybe? I guess.
Well, Wesley's trying to capture it, so he did play rook f5, h4, rook f4.
Yeah, now I think queen d8's got to be the move here. I don't see anything else. g5 is just opening up your king position. h3, I mean, white can even just take and then use both the open lines. So,
but this suddenly feels unpleasant that the queen has to be guarding both the b6 pawn and the h4 pawn.
And d6 also, actually. It's guarding
that was
every
3 pawns.
Yeah.
Every vulnerable spot held together by the queen.
I wonder,
Either
can
the
Wesley do
queen-
like a lateral triple stack? And then play rook d4?
Oh.
This is maybe one of the weirdest. This is one of the weirdest triple ups
stack
I've
on
ever
the
seen.
fourth? Why not? What can Wesley do? He has to use then the knight to guard the pawn. I don't think g5 is ever
I don't think
an
I've ever seen this. I can't think of a single game where I've ever seen like the lateral triple stack. It's very strange. I've never seen this. I literally can't think of a game where I've seen this.
And you
It's
have
such a
seen
weird
quite a
triple
few
up.
games, Hikaru. You have seen quite a few games.
Yeah,
in
it's
your
like a
life.
sideways gun. So those of you guys who are not chess players, there's a term we have. So I'm just gonna show it on the board with like rook f1. I'll just make some random moves. Rook f3, queen f2. Let me not leave the rook hanging. Where white gets these 3 in a row. You have the queen and the 2 rooks in a row, and this is called Aliekin's gun. It's named after the former Soviet Union, after the former Soviet world champion from the 1940s. So you basically do this triple stack with the 2 rooks and the queen. Actually, I think it was the 30. Sorry, but so to do this, it's like this is kind of like a sideways gun. After queen d8, you go rook to d4, and it's the same thing except it's sideways.
Will we see it happening? Will we see the sideways gun? That would be
Sideways
epic.
gun means it's serious. Thank you, Levy.
What is Levy saying? I missed it.
he just said the sideways gun is very
yeah.
dangerous.
It's serious. It's very very dangerous. I want to see that move. It's such a pretty move. It's such a pretty move, and I love the term. We are creating new chess vocabulary.
Right.
The juicer on h4 will fall to the sideways gun.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never seen this. I've never seen this like the sideways triple up. It's very, very strange. But let's see. Magnus does go queen d8. Come on, Wesley. For all the memes. Rook d4. For all the memes.
I really want to see that happening, but it may not even be the best move. It just looks so strange. It's so unique. It has to be the way.
Yeah, I mean, like a4 is I guess top computer move. It's very strange. I mean, rook f1 is a very human move too. But I mean, actually, if I was Wesley and I saw the idea of rook d4, I would just play it because it's too cool. It's like proper new age chess.
It is, and if it happens, what is it that Magnus has to do to not lose the juicer on h4?
I think he probably is supposed to just give it up, maybe, or something. I don't know.
Oh, you think he has to? He doesn't have time for knight g6.
I mean, knight g6 is a move, but I mean, maybe knight g6 is fine. Oh, king b1. Oh, very sad. Although he still is gonna have time to play it, probably. I mean, he wanted to get out of the way of knight g6 or queen g5 with threats towards the king on c1, so he sidesteps those tricks. Again,
He's
take
preparing.
two. Take two. Come on, let's do it, Wesley.
Yep,
Take
he's
two.
preparing for the right moment. Come on, the sideways gun. Can we see it? The triple stack on the 4th. I feel like it's more likely that he stacks on the f5 double stack instead of the triple stack on the 4th.
But the problem is after you go rook f1, king g8, how exactly are you attacking? Because
Not easy.
the
Wait, has he? He has played it! The triple stack, the sideways gun. It's on the board. It's happening.
nice.
It's happening.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, we don't know if it's winning or not, but it's on the board.
Well, looking at the computer moves, it's saying knight d7 and bishop c8 are the best moves. Neither of those moves strike me as being good. They strike me as very unusual, very unhuman moves.
Yeah, Magnus goes for h3. And
Hit
g3
g3,
instantly by
logical.
Wesley
He wants to
Not
go rook
for
h4, I
h5.
think, now. Although,
Yeah.
problem is, even if you get rook h4, like king g8, rook h4 trade, there's still just bishop c8 to hold the pawn. So it's still not obvious.
Bishop to c8. Because that bishop was really passive on b7, tries to make it back to the other
Right.
diagonal.
Yeah, this is exciting. Yeah, I've never seen this. I mean, I'm sure people will definitely hear about it, but I can't think of any game where I've ever seen a sideways, especially like in just a normal like middle game kind of position where you stack it on the side. Okay, so a4 is a good move. Stops b5, a5 gives up the b5 square. So Wesley's doing well here. He's doing very, very well, but the game goes on. Okay, king g8, very human move, very logical, and now Wesley has to prove why he's better here.
The sad thing is that the engine in this position suggests to get rid of the triple stack and go back to d1 with the rook.
Right, which is not human, of course.
No, once you have placed the rook on d4, you don't want to just go back.
Which is also why computers are so annoying, because like computers, they'll play a move like rook d4 to create a threat, and they'll be like, okay, who cares? I have time. I'm just going to go back and double the other way. Whereas as humans, because of the way we learn the game, you learn that tempo, which of course means time in Italian, really matters. So it's like when you play a move to attack something, going backwards and just like undoing that, as humans, it's like you can't do that. You're wasting time. You have to have an idea. There has to be a concept. You have to prove that the move made sense, because otherwise, why did you play the move?
And he's trying to prove it by placing the rook on e4.
Right. So exactly, he's trying to prove, well, I put the rook up. I mean, I can't just go back and do something else. That's wasting time. That's wrong. I have to prove there was a concept. There was a point behind the move.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what's happening. Magnus plays queen to c7.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a pin on the e5, but we cannot attack the knight. The knight is doing too well on e5.
Right. So now I like knight d1. Computer really likes it too, to reroute this horse where it has jumps to every square.
Where would you want to place it ideally? Where should it go?
Ideally, I think it belongs on e3 or f2 or d4. One of these three squares. I don't like rook h4 at all. I don't like that. I don't like that. Because the problem is now black gets to trade off one of the rooks, and he becomes less passive. So now let's get back to the basic concepts in chess. So one of the things here is when you look at the position, white has much more space here, right? After queen c7.
Mm-hmm.
So white has more space. And as one of the basic principles in chess is when you have more space for your pieces for the harmony, you don't want to trade off pieces, because when you have more space, more pieces on the board, the more you can maximize having more territory. And so one of the things you try to do is you try to avoid trading off pieces when you have more space, because then it becomes easier for your opponent to defend. Whereas now, after these rooks come off the board, that's one less rook that white has to worry about. And I think after queen c5 already, it's getting very iffy, because there's a queen g1 check idea to win the juicers on h2 and g3.
Oh no. Oh no. All about the time, space, and harmony that we have learned.
Mm-hmm.
And this rook h4 is going against it.
Yep. So I think rook h4 and queen c5 looks good. But I would you definitely trade the rooks instantly. I mean, you can't move. Maybe you can move the rook off, but I'd be worried about your king position here. Like maybe white goes for a double stack, rook f6, rook h5, and tries to checkmate your king. So it's, I don't know. It feels like Wesley's letting this slip a little bit. But we got the sideways gun, so that makes the game memorable regardless.
Definitely, and it will be even memorable for Wesley if he somehow turns the tables in the match. And maybe this is the moment again. A5 seems to be an inaccuracy. I love the reaction.
I mean, I don't know why you do that, because you just create a big weakness for the knight to jump. Like, the reason that I wanted to reroute this knight around was because I have no squares. This pawn holds the critical square. So now this knight is jumping to b5, and this looks very dangerous now.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to make sense to weaken the b5 squares. As you said, it just looks so anti-Magnus style, because he normally is really harmonious about his setup, his structure, the pieces, and undermining the b5 square to such an extent that now it's accessible for the white pieces, whether it's the knight or the bishop.
Yeah, I see someone in chat said every game I play from now on will have the Smith and Wesley gun. That's a good one. That is really good. That should be the name of this this sideways one. It should be called the Smith and Wesley triple stack. Smith and Wesley. As I'm sure you're aware, right, Anna? Like Smith and Wesley, you get the joke?
I didn't. Oh, wait.
The gun
from
manufacturer?
The opening or from the. Yeah, if it's gun related, I'm not up to date in terms of gun names.
Yeah, so of course the gun company is called Smith and West, or is it Smith and Wesson, I think? And so Smith and Wesley, like just.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, here in Europe, we are not that familiar with that
with
world.
guns.
I didn't want to say that directly, but it's not exactly the same here.
True.
We do have like paintball guns. Like you can play paintball.
Right. True. Good point.
But I'm learning.
It's all good. Okay, what happened? Sorry. So rook h4, bishop f5, rook h5. Okay. Okay. Wait. So is there a threat with queen h4 here where Wesley can double up and create a checkmate?
That would be huge if he can, and he's preparing the h4 square for the queen. So after rook h5, queen h4 would be the next.
Mhm.
What can Magnus do about this? Or is it just that after queen h4, knight g6, and there's nothing going on?
I mean, I guess yeah. Maybe you just go back to d7. I don't know, but again, this is why I didn't like this a5 move because you really create this weakness. If you go back, there's always knight b5 here to put pressure on d6. Yeah, I don't know. This looks quite dangerous. If it's 2-2, you guys, the match is tied and they play basically a winner-take-all match tomorrow on the second day.
Yeah, this is the final game for today, regardless of the result. But the only result that matters for Wesley is a win. If it's a draw, it's basically as bad as a loss. It doesn't matter how many points they score. All that matters is who wins today's set.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Sorry. Chat is going insane.
No, I love it. I'm keeping an eye on it too, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, so, okay.
Over 40,000 of you just at the GMHikaru channel. Thank you so much. This has to be top 3. I don't see the current viewership for the overall Twitch platform, but tell us about it, guys. If you see it, are we top 3? It has to be. Maybe number 2, number 1. What position is the GMHikaru channel right now on the platform of Twitch?
Top 8, yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's top 8 they say. Anyway, big shout out to everybody who's watching. Hope you guys are enjoying this. It's pretty intense actually. Very very complicated. Magnus has no time, by the way. I just realized he's got, what does he have? He has he has one.
Less than 2
Whoa, he
minutes.
finds queen
Yeah.
c8, which was actually I think the top computer move. Amazing find by Magnus. Because I think on queen b6 now you go bishop g4, and you don't really care about your queenside pawns because you have this pawn on h3 that is really really strong. So I
he
think
finds this important move with only 2 minutes left on the clock.
Right.
Wesley has over 7 minutes. A huge time difference, the biggest one in the match that we are seeing today.
Right. So, I mean, Wesley should obviously take the pawn, but bishop g4, I mean, how clear is this? It takes bishop g4, queen g4, rook h4, queen f3. White should be winning, but you have to be careful with your king here, because their ideas with, like, queen f1, you move the knight, and then you bring the rook down to e1, and you attack the white king. So it's not... Wesley is much better. He's way up on the clock. So it's looking pretty good for Wesley. Whoa!
Whoa! A
What is
blunder?
knight g4?
Did he blunder bishop,
Bishop
a6
wins the game.
and the bishop on f5 falls?
Yep. Wesley should
Does
see it here.
Yeah, if
He's
queen
got
d7,
he's
bishop
got
b5.
7 minutes. 7 minutes to finish it. Come on, Wesley.
Incredible. Magnus Carlsen blundering again. A huge thing. He blundered checkmate in 5 in game 2. Now he's blundering a piece.
Yep, game over.
Wesley has to find it. He's got over 6 minutes to find it. What a match this has been, with ups and downs in every single game.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, I think, you know, in many ways, Wesley, he deserves to win this game. I mean, Magnus is trying to make a statement in a situation where I feel like it's not really called for. Instead of just playing the match format, he's so mad about that game that he lost that he really wants to win this match by a 3-1 score instead of being solid, and he's going to get punished for it, which I think in many ways it's kind of fitting.
I can't believe it. This is just winning.
Yeah,
on the
bishop,
spot.
it's over, right? Oh, he played it. He just played it. Yeah, he just played it. It's game over. Yeah. Because
played
now
it
if
at
you go queen
minus-
d7, there's bishop b5, hitting the queen and the rook, and when you go check, king a2, after queen c8, again, you go bishop a6, and then queen d7, I think you have... Or wait, no, you don't have queen b8. Wait, what's the win? Oh, you can actually just take the bishop, and then queen d8, king h7, bishop d3 wins the game. Easy.
Yeah, everything is hanging. That queen cannot hold on to all the materials. It's secure. The bishop depending on the queen, and it's game over. It
Mhm.
is absolutely a meltdown. Again, a one move mistake. They both have had their moments when they made a big mistake. It just goes to show how difficult it is to play rapid chess accurately, because they are some
Mhm.
of the best chess players in the world. Hikaru, you know it yourself. Like, these mistakes look so obvious from the outside, but it's rapid. There's all the tension of the event. This is the finals, and
Right.
it comes down to nerves.
Yeah, I mean, again though, as I said before, like that was kind of the point was that Magnus, instead of just being solid like he was against Jan, for example, he basically decided that he's just gonna prove the point and try to win 3-1, and he gets punished for it. Whereas like against Jan, he just tried to be stable and solid, and he drew the final game of their first match. Whereas here he was too sort of eager to try and prove a point, and he walks into some preparation, and it's all over now. Rook f4, rook f. I mean, every move wins here. Wesley cannot not mess this up. This one cannot. He cannot mess this up.
Yes, this is just such a straightforward winning position.
Yeah,
with
bishop
an
b5
extra
is a
piece.
nice touch. Just very smooth and to the point. I mean, queen b8, rook h5. I mean, Magnus just. Oh, he resigns. He resigned.
That's
yeah.
it. I thought he
Yeah.
would try a little longer, but no. Queen e7 and Magnus
Mhm.
Carlsen resigns. It's official. Today's result is 2-2. It's not the end of the finals. Tomorrow, the next day, covered by Hikaru and Gotham Chess Lab. We will be back tomorrow with Hikaru. But what a comeback by Wesley! So
Yeah, he
Hikaru,
played
your
very.
thoughts?
I thought he played very well in this game. I mean, it was a little bit shaky at times, but I thought that Magnus. I mean, really, his opening decision was very poor. I think thinking that maybe not thinking, but underestimating Wesley and his preparation, especially against the Shevchnikov, really came back to bite him in a very serious way. Because I think if he had been solid, there were much better chances. But he basically decided he wanted to win this game, and Wesley just proved that he's very, very strong. His preparation is good, and it was an impressive performance in the fourth game. Very, very impressive.
I still can't believe some of the critical moments we have witnessed in the turning.
Oh, do we have a clip
moments.
of this?
Do we?
Magnus Rage. Is this the clip? Let me see.
Very difficult.
Oh yeah, we've got this. Okay, I'm gonna watch this. Let's see. What do we have? Let's see. Let me stop my music. Okay. Actually, wait 1 second. Let me copy my my Zoom so that people see me. Okay.
Try to open it.
Let's listen. Okay.
It's very difficult somehow, especially when you've got a piece nicely.
Oh, look at Magnus.
Magnus there reacting, shouting at himself. He's angry. He knows he missed that move. But yeah, it's so hard to find a move when you've got a piece in the center to bring it to the side of the board to suddenly. It's very difficult somehow, especially when you've got a piece nicely.
Oh, look at Magnus.
Magnus there reacting, shouting at himself. He's angry. He knows he missed that move. But yeah, it's so hard to find a move when you've got a piece in the center to bring it to the side of the board to
Yeah.
suddenly.
Okay, wow, that was great. Did you see that, Anna?
Yeah, what a moment of realization at Bishop A6.
That's oh my gosh. That's I mean that's hilarious. Oh, wow. So yeah, I mean I thought very impressive final game by Wesley, but also like to prove the point, that's where you get these reactions that you would not see in the same way with over the board chess, which is why I think chess is very well suited for online.
Mhm. It's amazing to get these expressions, because at over the board tournaments you sort of are used to keeping a poker face and not let your emotions be shown on your face toward your opponent, and also for the viewers in case there's an audience sitting in the playing hall. But in this case, we get to see the absolute 100% brutal reactions, whether it's joy or frustration. We see the two sides of the coin, and it's really great for esports, and chess is an esport.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just insane, completely crazy. So we see the way that Magnus blundered, but again, I think Magnus sort of you'll see tomorrow. Actually, I think if he gets a lead tomorrow, you're going to see him be very, very solid in different ways. He's going to show sort of a different level of respect for Wesley than he did today. You will not see him do this tomorrow.
Well,
So,
that's gonna be the
yeah.
story for tomorrow, the final day of the Champions Tour first, like the Skilling Open.
Mhm.
Hikaru will be here tomorrow, same time, same place, with Levi. Gotham Chess will be the co-host for tomorrow's show. And it's Magnus's birthday. I have seen a joke. Chesbey showed me a joke about tomorrow. Magnus saying, tomorrow is my birthday. Wesley saying, so it's not so good if I just read it out. I think it's better in writing, but yeah, that's supposed to be a joke. Tomorrow is Magnus Carlsen's birthday, and we shall see how is that birthday present that Wesley has. Is it gonna be a nice one for Magnus or not? Is the question. It's 2-2, so everything is at stake
Exactly.
tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah, it's gonna be exciting tomorrow. It's gonna be a fun finish to this event.
Absolutely. And remember, this is just the first event of the Champions Tour. It's a 10 event series, and Hikaru will be competing in most of them. That's what I heard. That's what I heard, that Hikaru will be there. And the next one is at the end of December, right after Christmas.
Correct. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for the support. And Hikaru, thank you for being such an amazing co-host, basically the star of the show. I'm just here as a co-pilot, as I said, and I've had a blast commentating with you. It's the first time I had the pleasure.
Likewise, it's been amazing. That was really, really fun.
Tomorrow more Hikaru and Gotham Chess. I'm gonna chat to my viewers for a moment, and then I think if you are continuing Hikaru, I'm gonna go over to your channel
I will,
after catching up with my viewers for a moment.
All right, awesome. So yeah, big shout out to everybody. Big shout out to Anna, of course. Again, you guys, make sure to give her a follow. We're trying to get her to 100K by the end of the year. So thank you again to Anna. I guess this is your last day of commentary on this event, right?
Yes.
So
Well, I'll be
yeah,
back for the December one, and we want to see you in the final. So this is one of the rare moments, guys, when you get Hikaru as a commentator, because for the next one, he's gonna be the one playing the finals. You heard it.
Exactly.
You heard it here.
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you so much for all your commentary, and I think everyone's loved it over the last, I guess, 8 days now. Feels like it's been longer than that, but it's been great. So thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you, Hikaru, for your kind words and support as usual. I don't know if I'm gonna get to 100,000, but if I do, it's gonna be hugely thanks to you. So you are backing me, you're supporting me so much that it's thanks to you that my channel is growing this fast.
Well, it's all about chess and growing the game. So I mean, we all serve a role.
We did that even to Anish. I don't know how we did that.
Even to Anish. Even to Anish.
Anish.
Oh, he's not gonna be happy about that. He's not gonna be happy about that.
I feel like if I tease someone, it's because I get on so well with them that I know that they will know that I don't mean it. He gave me a really good birthday present because he won on my board one against Vidit. I don't know if I told you, Hikaru, that on my birthday I had a sub battle against Samai Rana. And he sent me the players list, but the top board was supposed to be somewhat above 2200, so I had a 2250 for my board one. And then he shows up with Vidit on board one. So I messaged instantly Anish, just panicking in case he could jump in and play against Vidit. He showed up, beat Vidit with the black pieces, and that's how the sub battle started.
Wow, amazing, great stuff. All right, so yeah, I guess we'll catch up pretty soon with more sub battles and everything else, right, Anna?
Hopefully more sub battles, and I still am waiting for Levi to actually buy and wear the outfit that you told him to.
True, good point.
I think it's pending. But all the best, everyone, over at the GMHikaru channel. I'm gonna be going over to you guys shortly with my viewers, but first I'm gonna catch up with everyone and thank them because we are almost at 2100 subscribers, which to me is a lot of people. I have a lot of people to thank. Thank you guys over at GMHikaru again, and see you shortly.
All right, see you, Anna. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.